If you've ever wanted to get into Halloween villaging but didn't know where to start, this guide is for you. Guys, what's up? It is Doug, and welcome to a very special edition of Spooky Villages. 7 or 8 years ago, I recorded a beginner's guide to Halloween villages. That video has been up, and people refer to it year after year. I get comments on it, and I thought it is well overdue to update that video and do another version of it. So this is a beginner's guide to Halloween villages in 2026. So let's start out with a brief history of Halloween villages. So there are two main companies, Department 56 and Lemax Spooky Town. And Department 56 launched their line in the late 90s, and Lemax Spooky Town in 2000 started their line of Halloween villages. So really around 2000, that's what I consider. So for about 26 years now, as the filming of this, Halloween Village has been going on. So let's talk about the companies, Department 56 and Lemax Spooky Town. Let's talk about some generalities. Let's talk about some differences. I'm going to start off with the strengths that each company is known for. So Lemax Spooky Town typically is known for the more extravagant lighting of the pieces. It's known for wilder designs. It is known for animation. You have buildings that are animated, with the little figurines moving around and other things like that. And they're known for the soundtracks. So that's kind of the strength of Lemax Spooky Town. And with Department 56, however, the strength there, the fit and finish on the buildings is amazing. Now, Lemax Spooky Town, you do have porcelain ceramic pieces, but pretty much everything in Department 56 is porcelain and ceramic, whereas Lemax Spooky Town will use some other materials on some of, some buildings. They use plastic, more composite materials on different buildings before, where Department 56 pretty much stays porcelain ceramic, and they feel very high quality. A lot of times, too, on the paint jobs on the houses, figurines, accessories, and everything, on Department 56, it's just noticeably better. And even the actual finish on some of the pieces, Department 56 uses other materials to where sometimes you'll get like vinyl pumpkin vines that they're actually pliable and they feel, well, they feel viney. On the houses, sometimes you will get like a garland and it actually, it feels different material, or you'll have like bushes that actually feel bushy. You don't get that on Lemax Spooky Town, or at least it's very rare that you get that with Lemax Spooky Town. On the lighting front with Department 56, you're going to have more static lighting. There's still going to be different things than just like a bulb lit house. At least a lot of the Halloween Village pieces do have that. You do have some bulb lit houses, though, still. More of that in the Department 56 side than Lemax Spooky Town as far as the big buildings go. Both of the companies have more standard bulb lit houses when you get to just the smaller houses. But in general, the big stuff, you're going to have the Lemax has the more extravagant lighting. Department 56 is a little bit more simplistic in the lighting. And also, you do not have very much animation or soundtracks with Department 56 pieces. It used to be with some of the older pieces, you'd have a little bit more of that with Department 56, but it's very rare that they do that on their Halloween pieces anymore. And when I talk about the actual design being wild, Lemax Spooky Town has always had different designers that do their designs, and they just release more buildings. You're going to find more themes, more buildings, more everything in Lemax Spooky Town, whereas Department 56 Halloween, up until recently, as far as I know, was all designed by one designer, actually, who recently retired. And so because of that, the pieces are a lot more focused. The line is also not as big, just there's less skews over the years. I don't have the exact number of each of those, but Department 56, I'm pretty sure, has quite a bit less of the Halloween Snow Village pieces than Lemax Spooky Town. But those pieces for Department 56 are more focused. Just in general across the line, they go together maybe a little bit better, especially as far as like the theming goes. Even the ones that are themed differently, they kind of just look like they go a little bit more together, whereas Lemax can get pretty crazy. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, though. It's actually a strength or a weakness for either brand, depending on how you look at it. I heard a very great description that I used. My friend Ryan, who's been on, if you watch some of the Village Idiot live shows I've done on this channel, he describes it as Lemax Spooky Town does not have an HOA. Department 56 does have an HOA. Now, if you're wondering if the buildings go together, yes. Some people only collect Lemax Spooky Town. Some people only collect and display Department 56. I mix and mingle. A lot of friends that I have do. There's no rule for this. You can do whatever you want. I would recommend that you do that. But there are some generalities you should know when you are putting them together. Typically, Department 56 has bigger figurines that are much more detailed, but they don't really scale very well with the buildings. Whereas Lemax has figurines that have much less detail, but they scale pretty well with the buildings. I actually did a video on this talking about this specific topic. I'll put the link below, so I'm not going to talk about it too much more here, but I would suggest if you're interested in the figurines, you'll watch that video. I did want to mention a third company here, FG Squared Villages. They have been getting more popular in recent years, and you should also know that if you go to places like Etsy, you can find small shops and small builders who are doing all sorts of things in Halloween Villages, whether it's 3D printed figurines, custom display bases. There's a lot of talented people out there that are doing things that aren't like a big company, but they're still offering products for your Halloween village. So let's talk about how you buy these pieces, specifically Department 56 and Lemax Spooky Town, because it is a little bit confusing, especially for a newbie. So Department 56 is simpler. Basically, they announce the pieces typically in January, and during the summer, they start being shipped to retailers. So you can go to a Department 56 dealer. If you look on their website, they have a big, expansive dealer network. So hopefully you can find a local dealer near you, or you can order from many various online stores for Department 56. But it's generally fairly simple. So let's talk about Lemax Spooky Town because it's a little bit trickier, a little bit more confusing. So they announce all the pieces around when Department 56 does, around January 1st, a little bit, there's a little bit of a window there, give or take. They will announce some Michaels exclusive pieces, more on that in a second, typically a little bit later in the year, and then everything ships to the dealers and goes on sale sometime between May and July. That's typically the window. So let's talk about Michaels stores. That's the biggest Lemax Spooky Town dealer, and that's a brick and mortar place you can go in, and every summer they will put out a display, and you can buy Lemax Spooky Town in person, and that's where a lot of folks do their shopping every year for Lemax Spooky Town. The thing with that, they have their own exclusive pieces. It's exclusive for 1 year. If you see a Michaels exclusive, that means that they can sell that piece for 1 year as an exclusive, but the years, after that, as long as it's in production, it can be sold by other dealers. And what you should know with the pricing with Michaels, Michaels prices things over the actual retail. Like if you were to look at the retail price of a piece compared to a normal dealer for Lemax Spooky Town, it's going to be higher because Michaels plays the coupon game. They price everything with coupons in mind. So Lemax Spooky Town, it used to be off the Michaels price, you could get 50 to 60% off fairly reliably. These days, it's very hard to get coupons or a discount over 30 or 40%. 40% is about the max for Lemax Spooky Town for Michaels. If you can get that, you're doing really well at Michaels. So I did mention other dealers, though. There are other Lemax Spooky Town dealers. They sell basically everything that's not a Michaels exclusive. You can find them online. There are various Lemax Spooky Town dealers. Lemax does not have as big of a brick and mortar presence outside of Michaels, of course, which is for a limited time, whereas Department 56 has a bigger dealer network. So a lot of folks do buy Lemax Spooky Town online if you're not going to buy it in store at Michaels. Something important to note with Lemax Spooky Town or Department 56, though, is that during the year, once inventory is out from the retailers that have the new inventory, typically you're not going to find it again though, from a certain vendor until next year if that piece is available to order again. What I mean by that is there's not constant restocking throughout the year. That's not how this works. Typically, dealers will place an order up early for all their buildings for the year. When those are gone, they are gone, and then next year they repeat the process. So just FYI, that's why you don't see these buildings all the time every year. Especially what you're going to find out too, the buying season is just typically in the summer. That's when the pieces go out, and a lot of those pieces will sell out, especially by like August, and definitely by September. A lot of the pieces are already gone. So just an FYI, that's typically how the buying season works as far as the new buildings go. Hopefully that explains that pretty well. If you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer that below. So let's talk about retired pieces and what that means exactly, and resellers. That's important to talk about. So the big thing with these pieces, whether it's Lemax, Department 56, these pieces, typically, they are only in production for a few years, and then they get retired. And what that means is you cannot buy them new from dealers anymore. You have to either buy some back stock from a dealer that couldn't move a piece at the time, or you have to engage with the reselling. Yes, the fun of the reselling. That's eBay, Facebook Marketplace, it used to be Craigslist, places like that. Basically, online classifieds is where you can find the pieces. Here's the deal with that. There are buying seasons. If you are going to be looking for, a piece on eBay or one of these other places, if you're going to be looking at the height of summer when everybody's buying, basically when all the new pieces come out, that's like the height and the height of pricing. If you can wait over like the winter when it's kind of off season for Halloween Villages, you're going to typically find better pricing that way. If you're interested and want to know more about the the whole reselling thing, there's a lot to discuss with that. I actually did a live show recently, which I'll link below, where I talked with some friends at length about tips, what to look out for, and some good stories that we shared. So I will link that below. Make sure to check that out if you're interested. Okay, so that's a lot of info. If you're interested in actually getting into Halloween Villages, though, I have a couple tips for you here. One, I would say definitely get into it. It's a lot of fun. Don't be intimidated also by the gigantic displays that people have. You do not have to have a million buildings with very extravagant displays. It's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. That's a lot of fun. You can work your way up to it, but I would strongly recommend that you start small. And so what I would say is pick a building or a theme that's out that year. There's a lot of themes too within Halloween Villages. I mean, I've got hundreds of videos on this channel that's reviewing different buildings and everything of all sorts of different themes. But pick a theme. Haunted house. Do you want a trick-or-treat village? Do you want like a spooky farm? Do you want something more out there like a spooky castle? Pick a building. If you pick a building, you actually can start theming around that. That's what I would recommend. It also lets you figure out what you like or not, because you might think that you want a haunted swamp house or something, a haunted swamp display. But then when you actually start putting it together, you might not actually like that, or you might want to go focus on something else. So it's not as big of a deal because you will not have bought a ton of stuff for a theme that maybe you're not as interested in. So what I would do, start with a building in a theme that you like, and then start getting some accessories, because that is the real secret sauce of this hobby, is the accessories. You can have all these houses, but they kind of look bland unless you really accessorize with them. I mean, that's kind of the fun thing, right? The accessories, they really can make a village. So that's what I would recommend. Pick a theme, a house, start accessorizing around that, and see what you come up with. I think you might have a lot of fun that way. But my big thing is start small. I think the thing that overwhelms so many folks is they see these big displays and they get crazy. They go out and buy all this stuff. All of a sudden they've got all this money that sank into it, and right away that that can be bad for various reasons, and storage space too, because these pieces do take up a lot of storage, or they can. So it's best to start small and work your way up versus just going hog wild. If you want to go hog wild, go for it. Listen, there's no real rules in this hobby. You could be mixing from Department 56, Lemax, small builders. You can have a gigantic display right off the bat if you want to. Go hog wild. There are no rules here. My one recommendation, though, is to start small, build your way up from there. I think that's the best way to have fun and not get overwhelmed in the hobby. That's a lot of info, guys. Hey, if you have any specific questions I didn't address here, because I know I missed some things trying to just compress this, please put the comment below. I'll do my best to answer it. And also, I would recommend those of you who are experienced collectors, drop a comment here below with some advice that you have for a newbie, because every year there's so many newbies that are getting in this hobby. It's a wonderful hobby to get into. I totally recommend dipping your toe in the water, if nothing else. It's just a lot of fun. I love the hobby, and there's so many great people within it too. So please leave a comment below. Let me know if you have a question or something like that. I'd be happy to answer it. Thank you as always to my Patreon supporters. Thank you all for liking and subscribing and always leaving comments on the videos. I really appreciate it. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you soon.